Alice Bailey, who founded the Lucist Trust, which is the publishing house which prints and disseminates United Nations material. This connection shows the New Age and pagan nature of the UN and the New World Order. Lucist Trust was established in 1922 as Lucifer Trust by Alice Bailey, which disseminates the books of Bailey and Helena Blavatsky. Bailey changed the name to Lucist Trust because Lucifer Trust revealed the true nature of the New Age movement too clearly. Lucist Trust is sponsored by, among others, Robert McNamara, former Minister of Defense in the USA, President of the World Bank, and member of the Rockefeller Foundation, and Thomas Watson of IBM, former ambassador to Moscow. Lucist Trust sponsors, among others, are the following organizations: the UN, Greenpeace International, Greenpeace USA, Amnesty International, and the UNICEF. As Fritz Springmeier notes in his book Bloodlines of the Illuminati, the Rockefellers have played a role in Lucist Trust and the United Nations. David Rockefeller is a part of Lucist Trust's management. David Rockefeller, the owner of the Chase Manhattan Bank, called for a New World Order openly in his book Memoirs, quote, "For more than a century, ideological extremists at either end of the political spectrum have seized upon well-publicized incidents, such as my encounter with Castro, to attack the Rockefeller family for their inordinate influence they claim we wield over American political and economic institutions. Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists, and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I am proud of it," unquote.
What are those? Those are heavy-duty environmental organizations. Save the whales, save the dolphins. Why are they publishing? Why are they sponsoring and wanting to help out? Oh, I thought they were good. No, I'm sorry. I'm not saying that I don't want to save the whales or preserve animal rights and things like that. I love animals, okay? But the problem you run into this is an organization like Greenpeace. Who are they yoked up with? Well, their efforts seem noble. Well, their efforts ultimately are going to lead to a planet where they're going to take away our rights because Mother Gaia has to be preserved. So although some of what they do is noble, okay, trying to protect, or it seems noble, the reality is who they've yoked themselves up with are the most hardcore globalist, elite, Illuminati that you can possibly be. But see, again, this is how Satan does things. United Nations, if you read their literature, comes under the banner of peace, love, destroying poverty, feeding the hungry, all this other stuff. When in reality, they're actually doing the exact opposite, if the truth be known.
Author of Saviors of the Earth, The Politics and Religion of the Environmental Movement.
This particular belief system is really that philosophical expression of what we would normally call pantheism, the belief that nature is God, God is found in all things. And this is really the official religion or belief or philosophy of the United Nations. And it's expressed, it has some real downsides to it because it means basically if a law benefits man at the expense of nature, then that law is bad because it violates the basic theology of their belief system that everything should be equal. Humans shouldn't benefit at the expense of nature. Now you carry that far enough and ultimately you get to the point where no law is good because every law benefits man at the expense of nature and man himself is bad.
It has to do with this notion that human beings are a resource to be managed rather than individuals with rights that the state has to protect. As to the environmental aspect of this, there is a dogma in the environmental movement that holds that human beings are simply part of a democratic biosphere, that we have no more innate right to be here than any other species. There are too many of us, and we are exercising our influence in the biosphere in ways that are improper. And in order to reduce the burden upon our holy, sacred Mother Earth, it is necessary to reduce the aggregate numbers of the human population. And I think it's rather interesting to note as well that the type of people who fret about excess population never consider themselves to be among the surplus.
No one did more to popularize the idea of the Earth Spirit than Alice Bailey. It was her writing that influenced the Gaia religion of the United Nations, which will play an important role in the coming world government. Lucist Trust promulgates the work of a, quote, ascended master, a spiritual being who was working through or in Alice Bailey for some 30 years. The Lucist Trust Publishing Company and their many fronts carry out the work of a Luciferian, quote, master plan for the establishment of something they call the Age of Aquarius. Lucist Trust is a powerful institution that enjoys consultative status with the United Nations, which permits it to have a close working relationship with the UN, including a seat on the weekly sessions, but most importantly, influence with powerful business and national leaders throughout the world. Through its founding of world goodwill, Lucist Trust is, quote, aggressively involved in promoting a globalist ideology. Bailey's influential occult organization is tied to an international conspiracy of elitists like the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderbergs, and the Trilateral Commission. A spirit that called itself Dejoie Cool wrote many books through her. These included a plan that detailed many aspects of a world government that she called the New World Order. Quotes like, in a preparatory period for the New World Order, there will be a steady and regulated disarmament. It will not be optional. No nation will be permitted to produce and organize any equipment for destructive purposes or to infringe the security of any other nation. She actually outlines the process of how to prepare humanity for the New World Order in a section of her book, Externalization of the Hierarchy, called Steps Towards the New World Order. In another section called The Problem of Government, she appears to lay out the plan that would later become the basis for the Trilateral Commission by outlining how to divide the world into 3 blocks. But first she states this, coming now to the realm of government under the New World Order, one is faced with a very complex situation. Various basic trends of thought are appearing which, in the New World Order, will unfold in that major synthesis so much desired by the spiritual hierarchy of the planet. In addition to being one of the founders of the ideals and philosophies of those planning global governance, her writings also gained immense fame with another people group, that is of the so-called New Age. Her extensive writings served as the foundational beliefs of the New Age movement to this day. Terry Melanson, founder of ConspiracyArchive.com, said the following about the Lucist Trust logo. Quote, the Lucist Trust logo features this streaming blue light. The New Age symbol invented by Foster Bailey, Alice Bailey's 32nd degree Freemason husband, has a plethora of symbolic imagery. The symbol, according to Lucist Trust, is, quote, set in a limitless field of blue, which signifies the sphere of life expression of our solar logos. Superimposed upon the triangle of New Age forces is the 5-pointed star. In her book, Rays and Initiations, Alice Bailey reveals that the solar logos is Lucifer himself. 2 organizations spawned by Alice Bailey's work, the Lucist Trust and the World Goodwill Organization, are both staunch promoters of the United Nations. He also says, Alice Bailey founded the Arcane Esoteric School. She claimed to channel an entity she called the Tibetan, and she produced a number of books including Hierarchy of Masters, The 7 Rays, A New Group of World Servers, and New World Religion. Bailey said that her Tibetan master had told her the Second World War was necessary to defend the plan of God. That sounds ridiculous to me, but there are many in the New Age field who believe that everything is a part of the plan and the will of God, even a global Holocaust.
She also is quoted saying, within the United Nations is the germ and seed of a great international and meditating reflective group, a group of thinking and informed men and women in whose hands lies the destiny of humanity. You'll see this theme in this teaching today. These arrogant, satanically possessed people firmly believe that they are the planet's only hope because they know what's best. That's why when they say we need to cull 90 to 95% of the population of the world, like the Georgia Guidestones clearly states, and like many of them clearly will state, Ted Turner, Maurice Strong, all these people, when they say they have to kill 90 to 95% of the planet, they firmly believe they're the only ones that have the mental capacity to make that judgment and to pass that judgment on humanity. I've told you before in times past where the logo of the United Nations is a picture of the world with a wreath around it, which symbolizes their goal is to actually conquer the world. Okay, and I've stated what that meant in earlier teachings. Okay, but one thing I wasn't aware of is that when you look at that world that they have in the United Nations, it looks like it's almost like in this target. Okay, and if you count the segments within the target, there's 33 segments that are split up into this world map. And again, 33 being probably one of the most sacred occult numbers. You know, you have the 33rd degree Mason. The motto of the 33rd degree is Ordo ab Chaos, which is order out of chaos, which is what the goal of the New World is. New World Order and the United Nations and the Freemasons, particularly at the higher levels, that's what it is. Order out of chaos. And so you've got 33 segments here in this United Nation logo, so I think that's pretty appropriate. They know exactly what they're doing. You know, it's just a lot of it's veiled symbolism, and nobody, you know, unless you really check into this, you're not going to understand what they're trying to convey to you. Now, the Lucist Trust is a publishing house which prints and disseminates United Nations material. It's a devastating indictment on the New Age and pagan nature of the United Nations. William Jasper, author of A New Age Religion, describes the religion of the United Nations as, quote, a weird and diabolical convergence of New Age mysticism, pantheism, aboriginal animism. Now that's a big word, a mouthful. Aboriginal animism. Doug, weren't you into that before? Oh, sorry, okay. Now I know how rumors get started. Atheism, communism, socialism, Luciferian occultism, apostate Christianity, Islam, Taoism, Buddhism, and Hinduism. Why didn't he throw the Kabbalism? The Kabbalah, because that's really the main crux of all this. But he didn't want to throw that one in. So this is what this William Jasper, who's the author of A New World Religion, he describes this UN as all these things rolled into one. Well, now, hold on. Doesn't that kind of make sense if they're wanting to pursue New World Order, one world political system, one world currency, one world religious system? And you're going to see the one world religious system is really the foundational crux of the United Nations. If the truth be known, it's about the religion. It's about the spiritual aspect. That's really the most important thing, I believe, in this whole thing. Now, so you've got all these religions rolled up into one. Well, isn't that going to be the one world religion of the Antichrist? Well, sure.
The Greek prefix anti holds two meanings. It means against, but it also means another or in the place of. Therefore, Antichrist is literally another Christ. Teilhard du Chardin, who is known as one of the most frequently quoted writers by leading New Age occultists, defines perhaps better than any the Antichrist prophesied throughout the New Age movement. Teilhard said, quote, I believe that the Messiah whom we await, whom we all without any doubt await, is the universal Christ. That is to say, the Christ of evolution. Teilhard said, a general convergence of religions upon a universal Christ who fundamentally satisfies them all. That seems to me the only possible conversion of the world, and the only form in which a religion of the future can be conceived.
The Pope is the leader of an ecumenical movement like this world has never seen. He gathered 160 leaders of the world's 12 major religions there in Assisi. Who was there? Snake worshippers, literally. Some snake worshippers. Fire worshippers. Spiritists, animists, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, North American Indian witch doctors. They're painting feathers, fetishes, and rattles. Walking to the microphone, to pray for peace. And he said, we're all praying to the same God. Our prayers are creating a spiritual energy, bringing about a new climate for peace. So, there is an ecumenical movement. It won't just be the Catholics. I mean, you can see they're all joining the Catholic Church. The ecclesial head of the Church of England, the Archbishop of Canterbury, he says, we got to come back under the Pope. Robert Schuller says, what do we have to do to save the shepherd? How do we come home, you know? They're all talking about we've got to acknowledge the leadership of the Pope. So you have this ecumenical movement, and all of them will join under Rome.
The ecumenical movement has compelled Pope John Paul II to put on the garments of paganism in more ways than one. The Pope kissed the Muslim Quran, a book that vehemently denies Jesus as the Son of God. He allowed his friend, the Dalai Lama, to replace the cross with a statue of Buddha on the altar of St. Peter's Church in Assisi, and for the Dalai Lama and his monks to perform their Buddhist worship there. The Pope even received the mark of Shiva on his forehead. Shiva is the Hindu god who is called the Lord of Death. Disturbing to some researchers is the fact that according to the Satanic Bible, Shiva is a synonym for Satan. Many researchers believe that the time of Antichrist's appearing is nearer now than ever before, especially since the United Nations has launched a global effort to establish a one-world religion, as revealed by this CBN report.
Many liberal organizations, including the United Nations, are pursuing the development of a one-world religious organization. Today, on the United Nations' 55th anniversary, CBN News reporter Wendy Griffith takes a look at what's behind this push for a global religious voice.
After a while, the drums, chants, and prayers representing many of the world's leading religions all started to sound alike, somehow losing their flavor in a melting pot of spiritual soup. The first ever Millennium World Peace Summit of religious and spiritual leaders took place at the United Nations in August, and some believe it marked the first major step toward a movement to usher in a global spiritual body that may one day speak for all religions. Robert McGinnis with the Family Research Council says it appears the hidden agenda is to unite people under one religious organization so they will peacefully accept UN goals such as population control, abortion rights, and one world government.
Instead of all these different gods, maybe there's one God who manifests himself and revealed himself in different ways to different people. You know, what about that, huh?
CNN founder and billionaire Ted Turner was the honorary chair of the World Religion Summit. Turner, known for his critical views on biblical Christianity, promoted the New Age concept that there are many ways to heaven.
The thing that disturbed me is that my religious Christian sect was very intolerant, not intolerant of religious freedom for other people, but they thought that we were the only ones going to heaven.
Supporters of a global religious voice have come down hard on evangelical Christians who refuse to adopt their New Age agenda.
Although the URI says it is not a religion, critics say it does preach a theology that teaches acceptance and diversity among all faiths. Those who push for a global religious organization believe that all religions, while different on the surface, are each valid pathways to God.
The United Nations is a very interesting and complex body of networking, hundreds and hundreds of New Age groups that are networked together, the political activists that want to bring in merging of spiritual ideas. And we're warned in the Bible that what's going to happen in order for the world to elevate this one person who's going to be a world leader, our spiritual ideas have to merge to lift up this person who is going to get mankind to believe that he is the Christ, that he is the world leader. And the United Nations is a part of that conditioning process. The whole point of unifying spiritually is to globalize a sort of one world religion, to have the idea that through a united mind, through a like-minded mind consciousness, mankind can evolve to God consciousness.
But what is the influence for this mind consciousness, this united mind that will bring the world together? The Bible foretells of 10 kings that will one day rule the world, saying that these have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. The Apostle John writes, "Little children, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now there are many Antichrists, by which we know that it is the last time." Antichrist will be the manifestation of Satan's desire to exalt himself above God. The Bible says that Antichrist opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sits in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life. Most researchers believe that the New Age movement, combined with the New World Order, will ultimately unite the world to serve and worship this man of sin.
The influential New Age guru sought out by the Beatles stated, quote, "There has not been and there will not be a place for the unfit. The fit will lead, and if the unfit are not coming along, there is no place for them. In the place where light dominates, there is no place for darkness." See, in his thinking, the fit are the New Agers, and the unfit are those who do not adopt the New Age beliefs. People who are, for example, fundamentalist Christians, Jews, people like this. So essentially, you see a lot of intolerance within the New Age movement. It's not all nice and dandy with these people. You know, they have the mask, they have the appearance of peace, love, harmony, but in their writings, they do come out and say that there is no place for Christians and people who do not accept their beliefs.
But if you dig deep into the literature, yes, they're going to be extremely intolerant. David Spangler had talked about the Luciferic initiation and these types of things. And we look in the Bible and we can look at like Revelation 13 and where all they that do not receive the mark and the mark of the beast in their right hand or their forehead, you know, are going to essentially forfeit their life. This is how intolerant it's going to become. It's going to be their way or no way. And so, no, they're not going to have any tolerance. I think at first they're going to come as real nice guys, though. I don't think they're going to do that right off the bat. But eventually it's going to get to the point where enough people have bought into it and enough strong delusion is there that, yeah, they're not going to be tolerant.
Many years ago, when I was in high school and college, like millions of other Americans, I was an avid supporter of the United Nations. I believed all the many things that I had learned in grade school and in high school, that after World War II, the founders of the United Nations had come together to form this beneficent organization to create world harmony, brotherhood, peace, and understanding. And who could be opposed to that? It wasn't until later in my college years that I began reading the actual United Nations documents and books which were critical of the United Nations. I began to see the real problem, and it became very apparent to me that we were headed under the United Nations toward a convergence of countries into a global tyranny. Thus the title for my book, Global Tyranny, Step by Step. We were under the United Nations and under the rubric of world brotherhood and understanding, marching into an intended tyranny, and it is happening piecemeal, gradually, step by step.